film number 4 of the TCM Classic Film Festival, showing at the beautiful and legendary Egyptian Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, introduced by TCM's own Ben Mankiewicz and Mario Cantone, which was a frickin' riot.
I just thought, okay, Russell, Marilyn.
Which one are you?
I said I was Marilyn, you're Jane, because you're Butcher. She's like, where love goes wrong, it goes right.
We had the utmost pleasure of watching The Little Foxes, released in 1941 from Sam Goldwyn with RKO, based, of course, on the classic play by Lillian Hellman, which premiered on Broadway in 1939, starring the ever-so-infamous and flamboyant darling Tallulah Bankhead, which has been known as her greatest triumph in the theater and one of Broadway's biggest hits. So naturally, Hollywood would have to adapt it into a feature, for that was Hollywood's method, always, versus Broadway now, where they're adapting musicals out of amazing films. Don't even get me started on that bullshit. Anyway, Sam Goldwyn got the phenomenal Oscar-nominated director William Wyler to helm the picture and was absolutely adamant about casting Bette Davis as the lead, Regina Giddens, even though Betty felt they should have cast Tallulah Bankhead because everyone knew how amazing Bankhead was on stage, and she wasn't a stranger with film either. I mean, have you seen her great performance in Lifeboat? Even though her films, at the end of the day, weren't big hits, hence Betty had to play Regina. Jack Warner didn't want to lend Betty out and originally offered Miriam Hopkins, Bette Davis's arch nemesis, well, one of them anyway, but Wyler refused to work with her. So Betty was in after she negotiated for a better pay grade and was instructed to see Tallulah in the show on Broadway, which was still playing. Betty, of course, didn't want to because that would influence her performance, both positively and negatively. And after reading the screenplay, she decided to play Regina in an opposite direction. Instead of being an empathetic character that Tallulah was playing, she was a cold, calculating, and vicious wife of Horace, played very well in the film by Herbert Marshall, who is terminally ill and estranged from Regina. Regina needs him back at their poisonous and richest state in the Deep South in order to settle a deal with her conniving brothers, Ben and Oscar Hubbard, played expertly by Charles Dingle and Carl Denton Reed, reprising their roles from Broadway. Regina's looking to take Horace's money, investing $75,000 into a cotton mill and profiting while she lives a deserving, isolated life in Chicago with her daughter, Alexandra, or Zany, played wonderfully by Teresa Wright in an Oscar-nominated performance. Horace is on his deathbed, but will he live long enough to personally give the money to Regina? Or will he die sooner than expected? This film is absolutely astonishing because, yes, with it being a play, it could feel tedious and uneventful because not a lot of crazy action or movement is happening, but au contraire, there is so much happening below the surface of everyone's performance, and that just comes from masterful direction and a cast that is first class. Bette Davis leading the charge with her Oscar-nominated performance and figuratively burning the house down. The whole cast is, with Dingle and Reed bringing so much slimy life to the brothers. Dan Duryea also reprising his role on Broadway as Leo, Dingle's Dingleberry son, is just perfect. So friggin' dumb and selfish. It's so fun watching him in all of his scenes that he almost steals the show. But you know who really steals each scene she's in? Yes, Betty, but no, Patricia Collinge as Birdie, also reprising her role from Broadway. My God, she is just heartbreaking. So damn sad. And at the same time, it's so funny. It carries on from the beginning how her own husband and the rest of the family, except Zany, just freaking ignores her. Like she doesn't exist. The way Wyler directs it and the script makes it so funny at first, but then it gets really sad. And that scene where they're having breakfast, oh my God, I am so glad she earned her well-deserved Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress for this. Herbert Marshall, as Horace, is just simple and brilliant and works off of Bette wonderfully well, as he always did whenever they worked together, especially from the letter. I love the addition of Richard CARLSON as David, whom Zany is in love with, who is not from the original play, but was added to the script to add more empathy and lightness for the subplot of Alexandra. Bette and Wyler fought harder and harder each day, just clashing with vision, as Bette didn't like the set design, considering this fictional family was struggling financially with their old money, so it looked way too nice. To then Betty's choice of makeup to make her a little older, which director Wyler likened it to kabuki makeup. After enough clashing, Bette, for the first time ever, walked off set and wasn't returning. She came back after Warner and Goldwyn were going to sue her and threatening to cast Katharine Hepburn or Miriam Hopkins to replace her. So it's a good feeling that all the drama she was going through personally helped her performance. How Bette could just kill you with just a look. One dart throw from her eyes, and you are dead. And you want to talk about purely grade A acting and directing, that famous climactic staircase scene where Horace dropped his medicine, breaking it, and he's pleading Regina to fetch him some after they just had a huge fight. But she just sits there and stares. Herbert Marshall moves off camera and goes toward the stairs in the background, almost crawling up the stairs. Otherwise, he's gonna die. And the camera just slowly zooms in on Regina, just cold, waiting on the vine for him to croak, not moving a damn muscle. It's one of the most chilling sequences ever captured on film and is one of Bette Davis's greatest moments in film. And funny thing about that scene too is that Herbert Marshall lost a leg in World War I, so he always wore a prosthetic leg. When his character walks off camera for a split second, it's actually his stunt double doing the crawl and limp up the stairs. It's seamless Oscar-nominated editing and Oscar-nominated direction on Wyler's part, as well as terrific lighting from DP legend Greg Toland, of course. The film premiered at Radio City Music Hall and held the record at that time for the opening night there, the highest attendance mark with 22,163 attendees, receiving 9 total Oscar nominations, also including Best Art Direction, take that, Bette, Best Adapted Screenplay, Meredith Willson's score, and Best Picture of the Year. This film still invigorates the soul, especially with a family lamenting in its poison, with a shimmer of hope wanting to escape. I give 1941's The Little Foxes an A. Of all the Reginas, most that I haven't seen given to the stage performances like Tallulah, Anne Bancroft, Geraldine Page, God, I wish I could have seen her. Lee Grant, I wish I could have seen her too. Elizabeth Taylor, Ruth Chatterton, Margaret Leighton, Stockard Channing, Laura Linney, Cynthia Nixon, and Greer Garson's wonderful portrayal in the made-for-TV film, there is just no one like Bette Davis, who dominates this role, giving it her own powder, I dare say. You want an acting lesson from the greats? Then this is one of many for you. Take us the foxes, the little foxes, that spoil the vines, for our vines have tender grapes. Have you seen Little Foxes, folks? What do you think of it? List in the comments below, like, share, and for God's sake, thank you, folks, very dearly for watching. Stay tuned for more of the TCM Classic Film Festival reviews to come.